Howdy, Pard. Thanks for being here. All this would be pointless without you, so thanks for being here. I'm a guy named Fuzz. This is Defeat the Monster Within. We're going to jump right in, okay? So, this is my third video on the channel, and I feel like I have already spent too much time talking about the problems and not the solutions, because that's what the whole point of this channel is what the fuck do we do about it? What do we do? How do we win? Right? So this is the beginning. This is how we win. We need to build evidence. So let's jump right in here. Self-talk. Self-talk is huge. This is obviously going to be a pivotal factor in the fight against the monster, right? Because pretty much everything that goes on, all the decisions we make and the actions we take in our life all boil back down to the self-talk that we have. So obviously, this would be a fundamental sticking point where the monster wants to attack, is to try to sabotage your self-talk, because if she can do that, she's going to destroy everything else you're building off of that. So she doesn't need to launch an attack down the road. If she can snuff you out here and destroy your self-talk before you get a chance to do the next thing, then she's already won, right? So self-talk, I'll kind of continue to, we'll keep coming back around to this throughout this video, because it's big and it's a repeating idea that's just going to continue to be repeating and repetitive and just play over and over again. Okay, so that's something you definitely need to keep in mind. Now, talking about building beliefs back to front. Okay, now this might sound a little bit weird, but we typically have this idea that we believe something is a certain way, and then we can go out in the world and do it that certain way or experience it that certain way. Okay, but it also, which I mean, that is true. If you believe something is a certain way, if you believe you're a strong person, then you're going to go out into the world and you're going to do the things that a strong person does because you believe you're a strong person. But what I'm talking about, working back to front, is if you don't believe you're a strong person, right? Let's use this as a crude example here. If you don't believe you're a strong person, it's going to be very difficult for you to just convince yourself that you're a strong person, and then to believe that, and then to take that belief out into the world and act like a strong person. It's going to be extremely difficult, if it's even possible. So what I'm talking about at working back to front is, I mean that you need to build the evidence that you are a strong person first, and do the actions, do the things a strong person would do, and that's going to start to create the belief in your mind that you are a strong person. So now, instead of trying to create the belief first and then go out in the world and be a strong person, we're going to do the things that make a person strong and practice doing that every day, all the time, until that belief starts to take hold and it's actually true for us. Because if we're just trying to tell ourselves we're a strong person but we don't believe it, it's not going to work. It's not going to do anything for us. Okay? So I'm going to skip around here, because the Tony Robbins tabletop analogy makes a lot of sense when it comes to this. Okay? So Tony Robbins, in his book Awaken the Giant Within, he talks about how to build beliefs. And this is something that I thought was very interesting, because at the time I read this, I was curious about building beliefs, and I had no idea how this worked. So Tony Robbins talks about the belief is basically a tabletop, right? You can imagine it like a tabletop. But the tabletop can't stand up without legs to hold it up. And so the pieces of evidence that support that belief, the things that have actually happened, are like the legs to that table. So some beliefs we have a ton of legs under them, and there's very stable belief because there's so much evidence that we've put under that tabletop to hold it up that it's like we can't knock that table down. That table it's there, right? So it applies both for building new beliefs and for getting rid of old limiting beliefs, which I know that's totally cliche, the whole limiting belief thing, but it is real, right? So there's things we believe that are wrong, and the only way we can basically unbelieve those things is to remove those pieces of evidence that are supporting that belief. And it's the same thing that we need to do if we want to build a new belief. If we want to believe we're a strong person, then we need to go and do the things to put evidence to support that belief. We need to build those legs of that table, and we need to put as many of them in there as we possibly can to support that belief. or the table is going to be shaky, it's going to fall over, and the belief isn't going to stand up. Okay, so this is where we come to our actions diverging from our beliefs, right? So if we are telling ourselves, I'm a strong person, I know I'm a strong person, I'm such a strong person, and then you go out in the world and you do all the stupid shit that a weak person does, and you don't do any of the stuff that a strong person does, well, now you're in a pickle here, because now your actions and the things you're doing in your life are diverging from those beliefs and those thoughts. So there's going to be this great disconnect, and it's going to leave you confused and bewildered and lost, not knowing your ass from your elbow, okay? So this is very, very important, we need a clear target here, right? A clear target, we need to be sure of who we want to be. You need to get clear on the person that you want to be, the person that you believe yourself to be, the target you're aiming for. Because if you don't know that, it's going to be extremely difficult to not allow your actions to diverge from your beliefs, because you don't even know where you're going. You don't know which direction you're shooting for. So how could you possibly take actions that align with your beliefs if you're not even really sure what they are? So the first thing you need to do in the battle against the monster is you need to get clear on you and who you are and who you want to be, the person that you desire to become. And you need to get a very clear image of that person in your mind. And that once you have that clear image in your mind of the person you want to become, the person you know that God intended you to be, then this part becomes easy, because now instead of wondering what to do, we can look at this frame and this picture in our mind that's crystal clear. It should be crystal clear. And then we can say, okay, well, the person I want to be wouldn't do this stuff. The person I want to be would do this stuff. And it makes it very easy then to make the decision and to decide, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Should I be working on this, or should I be focused on that? And it becomes stupid clear, ridiculously obvious once you have this down, okay? And then, so this is also crucial. Is the subconscious mind is kind of the driver behind all this, right? So the subconscious is extremely powerful. It already knows. Your subconscious mind already knows all of this shit that I'm telling you. Your conscious mind might not know, but your subconscious already knows, and when you start to take actions that diverge from your beliefs, your subconscious mind is going to pick up on that. It's going to notice, whether you notice or not, or your friends notice, or anybody notices. Your subconscious mind will notice. And unfortunately, we cannot lie to our subconscious mind. It knows. So we can try to lie, and we can tell ourselves lies and feed ourselves all this bullshit story, but our subconscious mind is going to know. It's always going to know. We're not going to be able to trick our subconscious, right? The best way you can try to trick your subconscious is like I'm talking about, working back to front by taking the actions. So even though your subconscious mind might not fully believe it, once you take the actions enough times, your subconscious mind won't be able to help it. It will say, well, there's a lot of evidence here now that I am this type of person. And it will click, and it will just roll over, and it will just submit to your whim at that point, okay? It's important to keep in mind. We're not going to be able to lie to our subconscious mind. We can only prove things to our subconscious mind, but we certainly cannot lie to our subconscious, okay? So, let's get into this phase 3 part on this side. I wasn't sure if I should put this in this video or make a different video about it. I don't really know. I'm still learning. The channel's young. But there's something called anchors, okay? So some people call it triggers. I think the scientific term is operant conditioning, right? So let me tell you a little story, all right, about, you've probably heard of Pavlov's dogs. Maybe not. It's a pretty common story, but there's much more to it that the story that nobody tells, right? So Pavlov's dogs, the story everybody knows is that every day when he would come and feed his dogs, he would ring the dinner bell. And after he did it, he'd ring the bell and he'd feed them. And he'd ring the bell and he'd feed them. And he'd ring the bell and he'd feed them. until eventually he could come and he could just ring the bell, and the dogs knew they were going to be fed, so they started to salivate and started drooling just because they heard the dinner bell. And he didn't have to actually bring any food or have any food around. He could just ring the bell, and it's not like they're smelling food or, all they're doing is hearing the bell, and that conditioning is that bell, the sound of that bell is connected to the idea of getting food. So the conditioning over time, they could hear the bell and start salivating, right? So this is the typical story of Pavlov's dogs that most people think of when you talk about Pavlov's dogs. Now, what I think was interesting is he took this experiment way, way deeper than just ringing a dinner bell and feeding his dogs. He was kind of a sick motherfucker, this guy. So what he did is he took these dogs and he put them in cages, and he electrified the floor of the cage. So they're just in their cage, and then at random times, whenever he decided that he wanted to get a kick out of it, I don't know. The guy's probably a fucking crazy bastard. Sorry, now I got planes flying over. Hopefully you can still hear me. He electrified the floors of these cages, and then he would zap these fucking dogs. And at first, when the dog is in the cage and it steps on the electrified floor and they start getting electrocuted, they would jump around and they would scream and they would do everything they could to try to escape this cage and get away from this electrified floor. Eventually, the dog learned that it couldn't escape. It was just gonna get electrocuted. And there's nothing it could do. No matter how hard it fought or whatever it did, it was trapped in this cage getting electrocuted. And once the dog realized this, at that point, the dog would just lay down on the electrified floor and just lay there and let the guy electrocute it until it was dead. And if that is not crazy enough, get this. Once the dog had reached that state of being, he could take away the cage and he could just have the electrified floor just out in the open. And when the dog happened to pass over it, he could turn it on and start electrocuting the dog. And now the dog obviously is able to jump away and get free and escape. But the dog doesn't know this. It's so conditioned to believe that that's not an option that even out in the open, the dog would lay down on this electrified floor plate until it was dead. He could electrocute it just to death. It's insane. Okay, so that's how powerful this type of conditioning, this way of thinking is. These are the tools that the monster's using to destroy you. So we're not dogs, okay? First of all, we're not dogs. We're smarter than dogs. We can figure this out better than them. We can notice, hey, I can get away now. I don't need to lay here and die. Unfortunately, most people aren't that much fucking smarter than dogs. Most people nowadays are fucking idiots. It's pretty clear, and it's very disappointing. Beside the point, okay? So the point is that conditioning is extremely powerful, and once it has taken hold, it is like ridiculously consuming. Like, it will control your behavior and your entire fucking life unless you break that chain, unless you can notice, because you're watching this video, because you're here with me. You were lucky enough to be here. Now you get to notice that there's something wrong. You're laying down on the electrified floor. And it's time for you to get up. It's time for you to get up and walk away because the cage is gone. Okay? So anchors are just this type of conditioning, right? So we all have anchors or triggers, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? It's a neuro-linguistic programming term to call it anchors. A lot of people call it triggers. Everybody has their own name for it, their own ideas for it. But the point is that we all have them. We all have these elements of conditioning that are controlling our behavior without us noticing. Okay? So it happens anytime you continue to get a stimulus and response. So every time something happens and you respond in a certain way over and over and over again, eventually that response just becomes automatic. This is something we definitely need to pay attention to because these automatic responses are playing a huge role in what is fucking up our lives, right? So what we need to do in order to break these anchors and to eliminate this conditioning is the first thing we need to do is we need to notice that it's happening. Because if we don't notice it's happening, obviously we're powerless to fight against it, right? So the first step is to notice that it's going on. The second step is to make a plan of what we're going to do, the actions we're going to take to make sure that we don't continue to follow that conditioning. right? So back to the dog example, we're going to make sure that when we walk across that electrified floor plate and it starts to electrify us or electrocute us, we have a plan. Now we know I'm going to jump away and I'm going to go away from that electrified floor because it's zapping me and I don't want to get zapped anymore. So I know that's a basic example, but you know, we can relate it to a lot of things. Let's say smoking cigarettes, right? That's a huge one where the thing that is keeping you smoking cigarettes is a series of anchors. There's tons of them because the responses you've taken to those stimuluses in your life, when those things happen to you, your response was to smoke a cigarette. So now, once you decide you're going to stop smoking, right, these stimuluses are still going to happen in your life. And unless you recognize that it's a stimulus triggering some conditioning, some old conditioning that you don't want anymore, you're just going to recognize that as, oh, I need a cigarette. I want a cigarette, right? So it's not just smoking. It's like there's tons of them. We're addicted to foods. We're addicted to feelings. We're addicted to all this shit that has nothing to do with drugs, right? And that's something that's difficult to understand and difficult to explain. But you very much can be addicted to your emotions. And it's the same conditioning. You're just, instead of being addicted to a cigarette or, you know, to cocaine, you're addicted to feeling unworthy and feeling fucking depressed, right? But until you start to notice that you're addicted to that shit, you can't really do anything about it, okay? So, also, a huge factor in this is your mood. Now, it's pretty typical of people to make all these grand plans and think about all the stuff they want in their life and how, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it this time. This time is the one. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to make it happen. And when they're in a good mood, of course. And then as soon as that mood goes down, drops down below good mood, well, all those plans just go out the window. Now I don't feel like it anymore. Oh, I don't know if I can. Now it's hard. It's all bullshit. It's a fucking weapon of the monster that she's using to sabotage you, and you're blaming it on yourself. It's incredibly genius if you think about it. She's doing a great fucking job of cutting us down at the waist, man. So we need to recognize that whether your mood is above normal or below normal, either way, it's going to affect your decision making and your behavior. So it's real easy to see, like here's an example I have in my book, okay? So if you woke up in the morning and you put on your pants and you found a $20 bill in your pants pocket, it would make you feel good, right? Your mood would elevate. If you woke up and then if you want a new car, you would be excited about that, right? It's going to elevate your mood. But on the same token, if you wake up and you find that your wallet is missing, someone stole your wallet and your money, it's going to lower your mood. If you go outside and see your car has been stolen, it's going to drop your mood down. But either way, whether it's a fluctuation to the positive or a fluctuation to the negative, it's going to affect your decision-making abilities. It's pretty easy to see if you woke up and your car had been stolen, you might do a bunch of stupid shit and make a whole series of dumb decisions because you're pissed off your car got stolen. It's not as easy to see that if you woke up and you had won a car or you won $1,000 or whatever, that's also going to affect your decision-making and change your normal course of your decisions that you would make, just in a different way. It's harder to see on the positive side, but it's the polar opposite. It's still happening, okay? Just because it's not as obvious doesn't mean it isn't happening. So, with that being said, the point of this is that we need to decide, you need to decide and make the plan while you're in a positive state of being. And you need to know that your mood is gonna fluctuate and that plan is gonna seem stupid and broken, and you're gonna wanna do a different plan. When your mood takes a shit, your plan for your great life isn't gonna seem as cool and fun, and that's not gonna be what you wanna do anymore. Because now you're in a shitty mood, you wanna do the things that a shitty mood leads to. So you need to acknowledge that that is going to happen, whether you like it or not, and make a plan to say, okay, when my mood takes a shit, I need to take these steps, A, B, C, into this direction to make sure that I'm still following my plan, even though my mood is trying to tell me not to follow my plan, okay? And this kind of touches back on with the clear target. Having a clear target of who you want to be and what you really want, you need to have that very clear in your mind, because otherwise it's going to lead to indecision. And indecision is going to destroy you, okay? I mean, I wish I had something more articulate and better to say, but indecision will ruin your life. So that is, if you find yourself lost in limbo, in being inside of this indecision, you know there's a huge fucking problem going on, and you need to take a few steps back and figure out what's going on, what's leading you to this indecision, where is the lack of clarity, and then you need to take some time and get clear on what's going on there and fix it. Okay? I don't know how to fix it. I mean, that's not true. I can't tell you how to fix it now in this video because I don't know you. I don't know what the problem is, right? This is just me talking to a camera right now. So obviously, I can't give you all the answers that you need personally. But I can tell you that this is when you find yourself in the cloud of indecision, lost in limbo, there's a huge problem going on. So to sum everything up, the goal is to build the evidence, right? So first we decide who we want to be, then we start working hard to stack these table legs under this tabletop to build the evidence to prove to our subconscious mind that that is in fact true. I am in fact a strong person, and I will prove it by doing the actions and taking the actions. Okay? And it's all of it, no matter what we're doing or where we're going, it's all going to boil back to self-talk to some degree. Your self-talk is it's a pivotal factor. If you lose control of your self-talk and you give it away to the monster, she will destroy you, without a doubt. So, self-talk, the way we think about ourselves, this is huge. We need to start getting a firm grasp on this stuff, and we can't allow it. We need to refuse at all costs to allow the bullshit into our head. And we need to you need to get to almost a delusional state of being with the way you talk to yourself, and just elevate that self-confidence to such a degree that it's like people think you're fucking crazy, okay? Because if you can't do that, the monster is going to find a way in. She's going to find a way in, and she's going to break you eventually. It's just a matter of time. So if we can build these walls, if we can build up the powerful, strong self-talk, that's going to be a barrier that she can't penetrate. And then every attack she's going to try to make is going to have to be somewhere else, and she's not going to be allowed to attack that fundamental state of being, right? So we're winning. We're stacking the foundation. We're protecting the foundation of the truth, of the real beliefs. And then if we can protect the foundation, then she can attack all she wants in other places, and it's going to be much, much, much easier for us to thwart that attack and to stand up for ourselves and to be the person we're trying to be, that God intended us to be, because we built a solid foundation and we protected it. So that's what I got for you. If you liked this video, hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. I'll see you soon. Thanks for being here.